Hi, everybody. I'm going to this Gary Melton. He keeps on sticking his foot in his mouth. Oh Lord, he just can't stop. So that's all I'm going to go into today. We're going to do, as they say, a deep dive into this one. Oh no, this was too funny. I was watching this last night. Because there was Candace Owens. She also got on Twitter and had a what did she call it? Fort Huachuca, why does suddenly really matters. So that's on the slide. I'm going to put all of this together, the Mitch Snow slides together. So anyway, that was interesting. And then I watched this and I was just, I mean, laughing and laughing. So anyway, it's just like somebody better tell this guy sometimes. What is it that Queen Elizabeth says? Don't complain, don't complain and don't explain. Although that is part of the cancel culture and why she canceled her son. I mean, as Cher Denise points out, if Queen Elizabeth, if Prince Andrew was really innocent, then Queen Elizabeth would have been like, no frickin' way is anybody doing this to my son. Uh, Look, fair weather friends, when you get into the upper echelons, even your family, your siblings, your parents, um, I mean, that's why this case with Mitch Snow pisses me off so much because, of course, I've been alienated from my sons. I haven't seen them for 19 years. The last time my youngest spoke to me, and neither one will speak to me. I mean, I've wanted to keep them out of all of this, but the last time it was the 2016 elections. My mother was convinced that Hillary Clinton was going to get in, and I was going to be launched into a stellar career amongst her administration, which I mean, it showed my mother never read anything that was out there, just like my siblings, just like everybody else I know. I'm like, fine, you know what, you guys, you want to ignore it, that's your problem, but you're served. It's out there. You can't say you didn't know. It's like with Melania Trump, the stupidity of people. So Melania Trump is now being sued by this, what's his wolf, the wolf guy, the author. Um, and see, he was gonna write a biography for Epstein. I mean, he's got dirt. He's got real dirt. I tell you, this is better than Dynasty and Dallas put together. Now, of course, people get killed. This is real life. This is not a TV show, people. Yeah, so let's start because I'll tell you, this goes on and on and on and on and on. We're going to be stopping.
Was involved. Well, we're going to get down to the bottom of that, and that is the missing money. But I do want to say hi to some folks over in the comments,
Sorry,
all our regular
the
people
missing
that we have
money
over there.
of
Number one, our moderators.
TP USA.
Moderators, don't put up with any nonsense tonight. If people are here to just to troll and they're just here to disrupt, that you're banned. So, folks, we always encourage disagreement. I'm here to discuss those things with you. We can discuss whatever you'd like, but we're not going to put up with nonsense. If you're not here to contribute to the conversation, then you're gone. We will be doing a normal podcast at the end of this. I will be taking questions and comments with our guest. We will prioritize super chats because if you support us, we're going to take care of you. Also, make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, all that stuff. If you
Yeah, this is interesting. The monetization of the podcasters. I've been checking into that. That's interesting how that's working. I mean, there's as much conflict of interest here and corporate interference in this system as with mainstream media. And not really progress. Maybe a little bit. A couple of people fall through the cracks and are actually honest.
Want to become a member, we do have memberships. You can go down to the link below. You can become a Paramount Tactical member, and we do appreciate that support for sure. Again, I want to say hi to our mods, Jason Sponsor. We got Jeff in there somewhere. We got yourself, and we'll take it from there.
Sure. So I'm a constitutional lawyer, done all kinds of trials, civil and criminal, all across the country in different parts of the world.
Constitutional lawyer.
Represented people all across the political spectrum. Sometimes people don't like who I've represented. And I said, you don't have to worry about that because my clients generally don't like each other. So everybody from Joe Francis of Girls Gone Wild to Wesley Snipes, the actor, to Ralph Nader, to Alex Jones, to the Covington kids, to Donald Trump, to Robert Kennedy, to people, to the Green Party.
So, he's coming in and establishing how he's this big expert, which will be, later used because this is going to debunk what Wolves and Finance came out about TPUSA. So, the Wolves and Finance guy, he's a certified accountant. Now, this guy, he's establishing his superior authority.
The Peace and Freedom Party, the Libertarian Party, the Taxpayers Party, the Constitution Party, sort of all across the spectrum. The only thing my clients have in common is in the cases that they're involved with, they're usually the underdog. They're usually up against the government, the state or the federal government, sometimes up against other powerful institutional interests. I represent Brooke Jackson against Pfizer concerning the COVID vaccine, which was neither safe nor effective, like they promised when they stole $2 billion from the American people. So a wide range of cases and controversies.
See how he's establishing we have a corrupt government.
Over the years, last decade or so, I've done probably about
that cannot be trusted ever.
Half of my work has been pro bono, representing people for free or on a contingency, dealing with the COVID vaccine fallout.
Half of his work has been pro bono or contingency. Yeah.
Other civil rights cases and other individuals that were subject to lawless persecution by the Biden administration in particular. And then a political commentator and a political bettor. So I've been betting on elections since I was knee-high to a grasshopper. So that's sort of the broad strokes of my biographical background.
Oh, and just one thing. The whole pro bono thing with law firms, that needs to be looked into. Really?
Oh, that's awesome, man. And folks, if you haven't and you're not, make sure you go follow Robert down in the description below. We got his link to X. Robert, are you on any other platforms? YouTube, Instagram?
Oh, sure. The predominantly people can find it at vivabarneslaw.locals.com. It's Viva Fry and I. We do a Sunday show, a Sunday podcast, and then I do a lot of exclusive content for the members of the vivabarneslaw.locals.com community, which, by the way, is the one who introduced me to you. They had seen some of your videos back a ways and said, hey, here's a good follow on.
Now, I've been demonstrating for 20 years that what the lawyers are doing is often violating constitutions and human rights conventions. Now, this guy is a constitutional lawyer, so he should understand that. But see, the lawyers, this is what with the lawful rights of mankind with Paul Seigert. What with that book, it came out, he's like, oh, okay, we got to, not repeat what happened with World War II. And Alex Joel, who did a book review, he later became that was when he was a law student, he later became a lawyer for the CIA, civil rights lawyer for the CIA. I was like, oh, okay. So anyway, these lawyers are arguing things that you're like, wait a second. And constitutional lawyers, don't get me started on Glenn Greenwald. I'm like, wait a second, don't you understand that you're violating rights there? That under constitutions and human rights conventions, what you're contending is illegal. But even this guy, I mean, he comes up with shit all the time.
Gun issues. I think all the way back to you covered the Butler assassination attempt. And they were the ones that they're a great curated source of knowledge and information. And in this case, other additional influencers that have contribute real value, which isn't always the case in the influencer world.
Well, no, I appreciate.
Yeah, that we do agree with. My Lord, since I've been looking at all of these different podcasters and influencers in the Charlie Kirk stuff, I mean, one of the biggest problems is par for the course, as you can find elsewhere, but sloppy work, lack of diligence. They make stuff all of the time. All of the time, they'll make something up. They'll make inferences, or they'll just repeat what somebody else has said, which was wrong.
Appreciate that. Well, I'm glad you found us, and you know what? I didn't even know that you and Viva Fry did stuff together. So I need to go check out those podcasts for sure. I love Viva Fry too. That's awesome, man. You guys are.
He invited somebody on his podcast, and he doesn't even know that the other guy has a podcast. Sounds pretty fishy to me.
Legal powerhouses for sure. If you guys aren't following Viva Fry as well, make sure you go follow him on X. Just has done some great things as well. So what we want to talk about tonight, and a matter of fact, what I'll do is I'll play a quick video that just kind of predicates everything that we're going to discuss, and there's a whole lot more to it, but we'll play this and we'll take it from there.
Your naval intelligence psychological operation where you tell us that that's a weird thing to do, okay? It's always somebody close to you, and if there's a financial motive, yeah. And I would say an organization of that size that misses their deadline, their tax deadline for the first time, that's a little weird.
Someone at Turning Point decided not to file 3 of the 4 of their annual financial statements 4 months before Charlie Kirk appointed a new COO, requested a new audit, and was murdered.
All right, so that is just kind of the tip of the iceberg as far as the allegations. I know that Wolves and Finances have kind of brought to the fore against TPUSA. And Robert, I know I actually got some of the documents, the letter from the IRS to Erica Kirk and TPUSA that talks about what their situation is as regards to the IRS. But I guess, if you will, number one, if you want to address that specifically, or some of the other allegations against TPUSA as far as their financials go. And I also think it's really relevant to understand that going back to the Biden administration, the Biden administration was trying to take away their nonprofit status as well. So, this is going back for a really long time. And this kind of leads to the idea of what I've been telling people. Folks, they were going after.
See, that's news, at least to me. I don't think the Wolves of Finance came out with that one, and I don't think you would have known about it. But that's an interesting thing, that even under the Biden administration, they were trying to take away their nonprofit status. And they're continuing that? What's that all about?
TPUSA and Charlie Kirk long before Charlie Kirk was killed. And what's happening now, I really believe, is a concerted, engineered, and coordinated effort to do what they couldn't do to TPUSA while Charlie Kirk was alive. So, Robert, go ahead and just kind of address any of that stuff.
Sure. So, Turning Point is organized. I was friends with Charlie Kirk. He was incredibly influential in ways a lot of people didn't even know. So, if the Trump-Kennedy coalition, MAGA Maha coalition came about, we'd done some polling work with Richard Barris, People's Pundit Daily, who was also close with Charlie. And we did some work to show the power of that coalition, got the information to Charlie. Charlie got it to Trump World and was able to help bridge the coalition that came about.
Okay, this little connection there, this guy, yeah. So obviously he worked in the campaigns and stuff like that. This is when you mentioned Bobby Kennedy's campaign, this is another ding ding. It's like, okay. Yeah, so I was really supportive of Bobby Kennedy. I know you'll look at my how many likes and views I have on my video, and they think this woman is crazy. Who does she think she is? That if Skyhorse Publishing had published my book, The Mommy Wars Between the Socialites, the Feminist, and the Anti-Feminist, and which would expose all of the little backstabbing witchery, the labor rights violations going on at the IMF and the World Bank, the problems that affirmative action it's created, this replacement theory. I'm like, of course the replacement theory exists. Let's get it into court. I got all sorts of cases we can prove this. The cancel culture. I mean, my favorite is Sky Horse Publishing. In Alan Dershowitz's book, The Cancel Culture, I'm like, excuse me, Alan Dershowitz, when I was, excuse me, Virginia Giuffre, you might want to think about putting a pathological liar up the stand. And he was like, oh, thanks. I'm like, well, would you tell Tony Lyons to read my book proposal? Oh, I promise you would blow everybody out of the water. Everybody. I mean, everybody wants to be part of the ruling elite. I want to get away from. I've been running away from these guys all my life. You can't. They're everywhere. You can't get away from them. So anyway, this, it brings up some interesting little questions that are going on in my mind, and I'm more and more convinced that, yeah, Amaryllis Flux, she's another honeypot, and she was put in there to make sure that Bobby Kennedy did not get into the White House. She's CIA, once CIA. She's of the same, mold as Andrew Bustamante. Okay, so I was like, that's a little tidbit. This guy, I mean, he keeps on spilling the beans and spilling the beans and spilling the beans. It's too
So,
funny.
2024 election may not have happened without Charlie Kirk, just in that one aspect. Of course, his Get Out the Vote operation, Turning Point Action, which was misrepresented by Wolves in Finance, by the way, was the best Get Out the Vote operation that
Another very important tidbit. See, this whole Get Out the Vote, the action, TP USA action. Yeah, this is precisely the problem that there is with the nonprofits. I know very much about, very familiar with all of these issues with the different nonprofits. That's also why I don't have a nonprofit. I haven't started a company because until I can get some investment money for global expats, I mean, just I have some paperwork and stuff. That was a house that I got through out of a long time ago because I represent white privilege. I mean, I'm so sick and tired of being the sacrificial lamb that's been thrown to the wolves of everybody in Washington, those who have grappled the ladder of success with affirmative action. I mean, I remember when my mom, I mean, you talk about racist, when Obama first got into office, and she just said, I just think it's so wonderful a black man got into the White House. My siblings and I, we all rolled our eyes. And that's one of those ding ding moments where I was like, it's just a goddamn prize for y'all, isn't it? That's exactly what happened with the Catholics. And I know, I've always been very open-minded about ideological things with different religions, but I'm sorry. The bullshit with the implementation from the people, that's across the board, and I don't put up with it. And nobody can ever pull out, oh, it's a cultural misunderstanding. Oh, Adrian Thappa, don't pull that shit on me.
The Republicans had in 2024. So when he set up Turning Point, you have different parts of it that serve different purposes. And so you're usually going to have a very complex set of entities because you're going to have entities dedicated to sort of nonpartisan, nonprofit work. You're going to have some entities dedicated to partisan, political, but still nonprofit work. One's a 501c3, one's a 501c4.
Political nonprofit work. This is we've got a real problem with this because see, it's not just TPUSA and the Israelis. Everybody is doing that. We've got oh God, I'm forgetting my statistic off the top of my head. Is it 54,000? Sorry, I forget. In the DC area alone. I mean, like the little nonprofit, what is it called? The Pirate Co Foundation or something that Mitch Snow went down to. I think it was in Cancun or something. That I have no problem with. I looked at the, the ProPublica, what their income is. I mean, it's perfectly, I don't know, 300,000 or something per year, which, if somebody, these are helping vets who have been disabled. And I mean, anybody who's worked with disabled people knows that in the water, all of that helps is helping in and rehabilitating these people. Of course, we move more easily in the water. So that type of thing I got no problem with. Yeah, if some people in the community want to do something, oh, I want to help people in the community, I'll donate my time. But wait a second, I don't have money to buy the equipment, so that's fine. But this is also TPUSA, $1.4 million. That's a shitload of money for somebody that was Charlie Kirk, what he was between the different, he was getting income from the different companies. So Charlie Kirk wasn't exactly, I mean, everybody's doing it. I know. It's par for the course, and that is the problem. It's been normalized by Ethel Kennedy, who started it after her husband was killed. I mean, it had already been there, but we can go back to Eleanor Roosevelt as well.
Referencing which sections of the tax code they stem from. And you structure them that way so that people can make certain donations that can be tax deductible. Now, you're going to have for-profit enterprises in order for this to really work. So you're going to have parts of Turning Point that are for-profit enterprises. So you're...
He's explaining how the whole scheme works. All of them need to be scrutinized.
You're going to have, and then you have different state laws that govern charitable work. Not only that, if you're Charlie and you're going to be a high-profile target, that means in states like California, states like New York, you got to be careful about how you structure things. You're likely going to have a state version that's separate, that's not even a subsidiary, but is independent, so that they can't use an attack on the state entity to come after the federal entity. So, like years ago, I helped set up 1776 Law Center to do a lot of.
So why are they afraid that they're going to be attacked? By whom? The IRS? Why would they be afraid? See?
Legal advocacy for underrepresented causes and cases and clients. But we structured it to not even have any 501c3 or 501c4. We made it just a for-profit entity because of how much harassment happens. So I represented a lot of people when they were in the Tea Party that got caught up in the attack by the Obama administration. It's just a source of attack. But if you're in that world and people want to make tax deductible donations, you have to have some 501c3s and 501c4s that they can utilize. So, but due to the nature of the tax laws and state regulatory infrastructure, you're going to have a very complex infrastructure within to be able to achieve all the different things Turning Point wanted to achieve and Charlie wanted to achieve through it. So there's a lot. It's easy to get confused about the way deductions work, about when the filings occur, about how the filings occur. And people like Wolves in Finance and others who have no understanding at all of the non-for-profit tax world and no real understanding of how Turning Point operates.
It's just, I'm the expert. These people don't understand. Wait a second. I'll pretty much understand the filing. And the point was, this was the first time they were late in their filing. Yeah, you know, typical lawyer bullshit double talk.
Give you an idea of how bad he was. He suggested that Turning Point Action was this sneaky group that was siphoning off money because it suddenly got a bunch of money in 2024. Well, that was his get out the vote operation. So, of course, it was a separate organization because it's going to be a political purpose.
Yeah, see, without Charlie Kirk, Trump would not have won. And this is where the injection of money. And this is, there's $1 trillion in the past 30 years has been spent on federal election campaigns. It's ludicrous. With this one, Bobby Kennedy, I think he started in 2023, I think. So, I mean, it just, they are putting, and another problem created by that is they hire a bunch of young kids. We'll hear a little bit about this in here. A bunch of young kids, straight out of college, who want to get some experience, get it on their resume, get their foot in the door. If they're lucky, they're the person who they're campaigning for gets in office, they get to come to Washington, but it's all to get something on the resume and get into this political machine so they can come and seat warm and give us attitude and not do their job and contribute to the bureaucratic mess that needs to be drained from this city.
So it can't be a 501c3, it has to be a 501c4. And of course, it's going to have a lot of money spent in the year that the election was because that's what it was. But that's the kind of basic stuff he got wrong.
Let me just pause it, because one thing that I don't understand, and obviously I'm not an accountant, a tax lawyer, or forensic accountant, or anything else, but it would seem to me that just on the face of it, it'd be a real challenge to do some sort of forensic accounting from outside the organization, looking at, we have a nonprofit, and I know, like, when we file our...
Is this guy stupid or what? I mean, okay, to find out exactly where all the money went, you're going to have to get everybody into court or the IRS, an investigation, because of course from the outside you can't find, you don't have access to all of the paper trail, but you just look at the financials, you use your freaking noggin. You go on to ProPublica. You don't even have to look through the IRS. ProPublica, the name of the nonprofits of the organization, and book, it'll come up and it'll give you for several years past and everything. I mean, when Wolves of Finance says, "Oh, I researched this," I'm like, all you got to do is look ProPublica, and they'll give it to you for since the organization started, or at least 10 years going back, at least. You can look at that. You can look at the who's on the board, the executive committee, what they're earning, what their expenses are. I mean, these are the tax returns. It's not difficult. You just have to use a little bit of effort and a little bit of brains, basic math skills. These experts.
Taxes and things like that. That stuff gets posted eventually, but it's not immediate. And it could be months and months and months where we could have already done everything that we needed to do. But that paperwork isn't public for months and months at a time. Like, how can someone outside the organization reasonably do?
Say again, if Gary knew what he was talking about, he would say normally that the tax information we can even go into. Let's see, pirate. Cove Foundation. Was that it? No, let's do this. I know I know the Mellon Foundation is there. ProPublica. I'll look at that one enough. See, Andrew Mellon Foundation. Let's see. How do I need to do this? Come on. Okay. I think I've shared the right one. So, see, you just, as I say, ProPublica, you go in there, it gives you the revenues, the expenses, you scroll down. So, for example, you have it for 2024. I mean, they already filed for, well, actually, yeah, fiscal year ended 2024. So it does take a while for these things to get in there, but where are you? Hmm. Oh, where did I lose? Oh, I guess I need to do this. Yeah, okay. I think we're okay. Oh, I guess I could do it that way as well. Sorry, people. I'm still learning. So anyway, this thing of always making excuses.
Any sort
You know,
of,
you know
I
what
don't know.
you know what this reminds me of is the when Juan Carlos of Spain, he killed his brother. When he was 18 years old, he killed his 14-year-old brother with a gun. And of course, there was all sorts of all of the aunts and the ladies and the women in the family and everything. They came out with all sorts of theories of a magic bullet that was because oh my lord, this, I mean, and it was covered up, oh my lord, can you imagine the heir to the Spanish throne has killed his brother. Are we going to investigate? He's 18 years old. We're going to throw him in jail? No. I mean, Franco was grooming him to be to follow, to take after him. So yeah, it's like the Juan Carlos magic bullet, and let's make excuses and excuses and excuses that make no sense whatsoever.
Forensic accounting with any sort of integrity and give that information to the public.
They really can't. You could look at the NG, their various Form 990s that they file and make some inferences about somebody getting paid X amount or
Yeah,
something else, but it's going to be very limited because there's no way you're going to see the whole picture.
exactly.
The whole picture is going to
But
be much more
you get
complicated and
enough
not
of
publicly disclosed. And there was nothing. If there was anything anomalous in Turning Point, they were going to
you get enough of a picture to know if you're dealing with angels or warlocks.
put Charlie
That's
under
for sure.
because he was under constant IRS scrutiny, constant harassing state scrutiny, and a bunch of statements have been misinterpreted. Like he liked what Doge was doing, so he thought, hey, it'd be cool if we use Doge to see if we have maximum efficiency. It's not because he had any suspicions about an entity he really strictly controlled. Charlie was had his
Oh my lord. Please. Were we born yesterday? Oh no, he thought it was a really cool idea, Doge. I mean, like the man sat around with nothing to do. Oh, this sounds like a really cool idea. Oh, please.
finger on the pulse across the board. This wasn't like a James O'Keefe. Like, the only big
Oh
high
Lord.
profile charity that hasn't filed
What they did to James O'Keefe? See, this is another case study. What the frick are you people, you business people out there, you entrepreneurs, clean up your courts. This is the people who are legitimately starting companies and then they get them taken away from them. I mean, it's a whole, ecosystem of con jobs. And this is with the capital ventures. And they have created boom and bust economies. The IT people, the Silicon Valley, are at the lead with the crazies. You gotta stop.
filed returns has been Project Veritas since they kicked out James O'Keefe. That's somebody that suddenly stopped filing returns and information. It's not Turning Point. They're relying, of course, the Turning Point had timely filed their returns and information as confirmed by the IRS. If you knew Charlie, you knew there was no chance he was going to miss anything like that.
And Charlie was alive.
What they're doing is they're extrapolating from people's lack of understanding of how NGOs work, lack of understanding of how a Turning Point entity, which is going to have for-profit components, profit components, other components. Also, you may see one entity plug in a lot of.
See, most people don't know how oh, believe me, I've been examining this shit for 20 years, buddy. I know how they work and how they don't work.
Labor and expenses and cost. Maybe you put it under this umbrella rather than that umbrella for tax purposes. But that the people drawing broad conclusions, oh, look, it was $3 million. This must meant they were paid this amount. Probably not, because those are just different tax ways to maximize tax advantage so that you can keep the business running at the most efficient level. And he had Turning Point running at an extraordinary.
Okay. So you can get the company running at the most efficient level. Now, I want to bring everybody into court, everybody that I've worked for in DC and then some, on this is not an efficient way to run an organization. So, see, this is where, oh no, the tax accountant, the paper pusher managerialists, no, we're making it more efficient, our companies. No, you're not. You're just putting a bunch of more paper that says, oh, look what a great job we're doing.
Narrowly efficient level. I think it kind of shocked a lot of people on the left because, as a general rule, the right has done a poor job of public fundraising for NGOs, hasn't done nearly as much. The left is so committed to their causes. Legal defense funds will get $1 million overnight.
Now, he does have a point on that one. He does. I mean, I would say traditionally the Democrats, the liberals, have been better at going and getting like money from like little bits of money from lots and lots and lots of people. The conservatives concentrate their efforts more effectively and getting big chunks of money from really, really wealthy people.
You even see it, with Candace setting it up for this obvious serial abuser and cheat and liar and fraud, which is what that guy was. She's able to raise 6 figures for him overnight. Those kind of causes can.
Okay, cheat, liar, and fraud, he said. Now, he just opened himself up for a lawsuit of defamation. Mitch Snow can sue both Paramount Tactical and that guy for defamation. I would love to see it. Come on, people, give him money. Let's go and see it. Get me a frickin' lawyer who knows what they're doing. Okay? And doesn't think that they're God's gift to the world and that they know everything. I mean, I went on that with what's his name, Russell Brand, the last time. So anyway, that's defamation. He's got to prove that, because I've looked into this stuff with Snow. Now, I don't think that this guy is pure as the white snow. He's had at least, 3 different women with children. So yeah, but he comes from a very abusive family, mother and father. And I think he kind of has a knack for finding abusive people to surround himself with. So anyway, that's not good. So definitely, as we all, the guy has some things that he can work on. However, I mean, the poor man has been through hell. He fell from 80 feet. I mean, I loved it when Gary was talking about the Charlie Kirk, the guy who falls from the roof or jumps from the roof, and that's like 9 feet or something like that. Who's like, oh, enough to break your foot, enough to break your leg. I was like, excuse me, this guy, Mitch Snow, he fell 80 feet and, oh, God, that's just nothing. I mean, he's just crying over nothing. Like, this is all made up. No, if you listen to some of the testimony, who was it? I forget when. I mean, we heard the youngest son, where that Candace posted that the youngest son saying, "Mom is really mean." It was a recording. Mom is really mean. Mom is really mean. Mitch Snow is sitting in the car with the one of the women that he brought in. I think it was the Candace that Gary Melton brought into his platform. And she's saying, yeah, we know your mom's real mean, but you gotta, you gotta go back to her. The courts say you gotta go back to her. Believe me, I know this story very, very well. Mom being mean is not the worst of the stories that we're hearing. No. I mean, we have some serious shit going on, and these assholes are sitting here. I mean, you talk about fit to be tied. They don't give a shit. I mean, we got pedophiles and rapists running loose all over the place. I mean, I had a pedophile living right next to me. He was he was the HR director of the Washington Times. So I think, is that Mormon? And his wife was one of these mail order brides that they brought in from Korea in the 80s. He's a convicted pedophile. And he wanted to tell me, explain, I still want to see him in court on that one. Okay, explain to me this at will employment. I don't know. He was going to, his area, since he had been the director of HR department, he knew. I said, no, this is one of the things that I want to see people in court over. I mean, this guy's a lawyer. No, labor rights, huh? Bullshit in this country, and we're supposed to be this great democracy. Bullshit. Oh,
but usually it's been tough on the
asshole.
right. So he ran this with a very clean ship, very strict operation. There were always internal audits being done. His idea to incorporate Doge was, Doge is cool. Let's see if we can use some of the cool things they do in terms of how they use algorithms. And in particular, it would be things like, could we save money? Could we reduce cost on certain vendors? That's what he's looking at. Nothing internal to Turning Point. He had no concerns with that. He talked with me, talked with Richard Barris, talked with other people that are in our circle, and that there just wasn't there was no reason to believe there was anything wrong at Turning Point whatsoever.
So, during this entire time where he was talking about Doge and things like that, you were somebody that was working with him on some.
Isn't that how Enron happened? Oh, and see, the thing is, Candace, that's another thing. We'll hear this all the time. Candace Owens, George Farmer, her husband, he's this wealthy guy with his father with a baron. His father was dirt poor. Yes, he is a baron, but he's the first baron. His father was dirt poor. And it's not like everybody thinks the whole thing goes. Like, no, you get a title, but that's it. Ask the Churchills. I think they're familiar with that.
Some of these issues, or at least he was bouncing ideas off of you. What was your relationship with TPUSA at the time, Robert?
So my relationship was purely political. So
Okay.
It was to get ideas with Richard Barris to Charlie when certain
Purely political. Oh, where could that go wrong?
things we thought were going AWOL, or we saw an opportunity present, or we saw an issue being percolate up. I was available if any help was needed, but he never needed any help on the tax law side. Everything was a buttoned up shop. But if the IRS had come after him, I was going to help represent him and would be happy to do so. I've represented a range of groups.
They're concerned that the IRS is going to come after him. He's preparing. Okay. If you're concerned about that, it's like, why?
In those settings, but there was the IRS put them under massive scrutiny. They were trying to find any pretext to recreate what they did with the Tea Party movement with Obama in 2014, which was to basically harass them out of existence. And they were so buttoned.
He's just admitting that the IRS is completely politicized.
up that the IRS couldn't even find an avenue of attack. That's how clean they were. And the reason why the IRS suspected something was AWOL is because most NGOs are like the Somali
I want to see the IRS in court.
kind of operations. So
Right.
there's a lot of shenanigans that go on. And that's why if you contrast it, say, Turning Point's 990 forms, it's both more full disclosing, timely filed, and more compliant with the tax law than a lot of other NGOs. If you go looking at some other NGOs,
Compliant with the tax laws. I love that one. We are compliant with the tax laws. That means they just figured out how to loop-de-loop to make it all look good.
and 990 forms, you'll find a lot of oddities and peculiarities that you do not see in any of the Turning Point documents, because he had to keep it crystal clean. Because even with Trump getting elected, there was still concern that the rogue agencies would still harass him and harangue him. So he was always super.
Rogue agencies. Once again, proof. All of the government agencies are completely politicized, and it's all just party politicking. You know, this one gets into office, that, and fuck the taxpayers.
Hyper conscious of making sure that was buttoned up. Some of the best auditing firms in the country and accounting firms are on top of it. And people are trying to make a deal about, some suggestion of private inurement, that sort of thing. That's why he carefully structured it. So you had NGOs doing one activity in terms of the non-for-profit, the partisan and non-political ones doing different activities, him doing separate business activities. That's why parts of Turning Point have for-profit enterprises, because to work business-wise, and you need that to be outside of the regulatory framework because of all the private inurement rules that basically
outside the regulatory framework. See, this has got to stop. It's got to stop.
If you benefit too much or disproportionate, then you can get hit with a range of taxes and have a bunch of consequences. So he ran as clean a shop in an NGO as anybody I've ever known.
So when people are saying, and I've heard a bunch of different numbers thrown out, 3 million, 8 million, there was all this money missing, and he was going to do an audit, and this is why they ultimately decided that he had to go. That's the allegation that's being placed. But so
what you have to understand is I've been through the human rights, the civil rights, the women's rights, and the children rights, nonprofits, and domestic violence. Both sides of the pond. I've got so many names of people because it's all party politicking or just, seat warming and advancing careers while the dead and dying keep on mounting. It's all fraudulent.
Where does this $3 billion or $8 million come from that, Wolves in Finance, among other people, are trying to claim that was missing to begin with?
His basis was kind of absurd. So to give you an example, he suggested that the Turning Point action was somehow all bogus, and that was bogus money that had disappeared without Charlie knowing. Turning Point action was Charlie's idea. We had discussed it with him, Richard Barris and I, and Barris in particular, about how to develop a get out the vote organization, because the Republican Party was frankly inadequate at doing so. So he came up with the idea before.
So the Republican Party was inadequate and get out the vote. So they got Turning Point USA to do it for them. See, the incompetence is everywhere.
Before 2024 for Turning Point Action, created it, put it in motion, and the fees that are getting paid are regular. In fact, to be honest with you, they're actually cheaper than a lot of other people would have cost for a lot of those services. Like Wolves in Finance was saying, that this amount must be excessive, and it's like, no, for political get out the vote operations. A lot of reasons why you need people that are trained at that, and you need, like Robert Kennedy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like
for
Robert
example, his campaign. There are a bunch of saboteurs in the Democratic Party who were out getting signatures for him. and they were deliberately creating fake signatures to sabotage his effort to get on the ballot. I've represented a bunch of people in the petition circulation.
See, and I'm questioning whether there were Republicans as well, because it was all. I don't think I think Bobby Kennedy really was sincere in his bid, but I think everybody just around him, Randy Hines, Tony Lyons, Amaryllis Fox. I think that maybe why Dennis Kuchinev, or whatever his name is, was ousted at the beginning. Del Bigtree. I mean, Del Bigtree ran that thing like a goddamn Hollywood, party. Yeah. See, God, this has got to stop.
Business to get on the ballot. That's why I've represented all those political parties over the years. And there's so many bad faith actors in that business that you have to hire true, proven professionals. And so he identifies.
The professionals are the ones who are the most likely to become involved and to have sold their souls and become involved in the criminal activity.
Supposedly said, this money over to Turning Point Action must be bogus and hidden and secret. Made completely false, because he didn't know what Turning Point Action even was, didn't know what Turning Point itself was. And then even went further, several of the Turning Point entities operate off of a mailbox. My law firm's out of a mailbox. For a lot of security reasons, after I represented the Covington kids, I had bomb threats called in.
The guy at Wolves and Finance, he said, "Yeah, I'm sorry, there is a PO box or a box there, a UPS."
So for security reasons, if you went to my official office, it's a mail drop office. Because I don't want randos showing up wanting to do other things. So that's what Turning Point had, a bunch of those, right? Like UPS store and that kind of thing. And the Wilson Finance guy said, I came to the parking lot and there's no business. There's just
Turning Point had a bunch of those. Well, I guess if they're in chapter in each state, possibly.
It's a strip mall. It's no business. It must all be fake. His story is fake. That's one of the most common things. And especially Charlie's business, there's no way you want to have a bunch of public addresses that any rando can show up at. So you're going to use mail drops as your official address.
This is where we are as a country. And these guys are patting themselves out on the back of, oh yeah, you're a nonprofit. You don't want anybody to know where you are. Why is everybody so pissed off at you?
For registration purposes of
Robert,
these business entities.
The left has never, committed violence against its political, enemies. But I don't know why you would think that would be something that they would do.
Yeah, exactly. So I watched both of his reports, Wolves in Finance. I had previously followed him because he did some interesting financial analysis. He's a young guy, clearly unfamiliar with the way tax laws work. And then it became clear he was acting in bad faith because he misled. He didn't tell people that there was a UPS store there, that was where the mailbox was, that's what this was. He misled them into thinking there was fake phantom.
He was not acting in bad faith. I saw when he did the thing. I think he does, how shall I say it? He is partisan, definitely. And so you have to realize that when you're watching Wolves in Finance, he is partisan. I remember one time I was like, oh, buddy, come on. So agreed on that. But he was acting in good faith when he did that.
Businesses with phantom entities that suddenly show up in 2024 that are diverting billions of dollars, when it's just Charlie's turn out the vote operation that had a voter registration or its office business registration, because that's public filing. Your 990 is a public filing. I've represented a range of NGOs that do not list their actual business address on those forms because everybody knows those forms. So like Robert Kennedy's Children's Health Defense, they're not going to use the address where people are walking in every day because that's very dangerous. Because
a lot of these it'll have a lawyer or somebody.
of how many people were targeting Children's Health Defense, especially when they were exposing COVID and exposing the COVID vaccine. And Robert Kennedy, of course, has had many threats against his life. His own father was murdered. His uncle was murdered, of course, famously. So this is very.
I mean, Bobby Kennedy has had many threats against his life. I mean, I think when he was running, maybe, but not more so than anybody else, I think. I've had more threats against my life, I think, than Bobby Kennedy has.
Very commonplace for anybody with a security concern at any level. You're going to be using a mailbox or a drop box as your location. You're not going to be registering your actual physical everyday office address on a publicly filed tax form when you have security threats of the kind that Charlie faced, of the kind that other people in Turning Point face. So that was very commonplace.
Well, wait a second. It's pointed out later that the drop box there was not TPUSA. It was a congressman. So see, he misspoke there. One of the advantages of being brought up to be, I don't know if these things, this shows, it doesn't seem to here, but to be brought up to be a debutante's guide to life. I mean, when I read this, I was like, yeah, it's kind of like a drill sergeant in Army. You have to watch. Oh, if that was one thing that my mother taught me, was be careful what you say. Because anything you say can and will be held against you.
Very ordinary, in fact, good practice. And he made it sound like it was some sort of criminal conspiracy of hiding this entity in this secret location that was a phantom business that was diverting the money. And he's attacking some of Charlie's closest.
No, it was the congressman.
Friends. These are people that are. Charlie built a business and he avoided some of the risks that James O'Keefe, because James O'Keefe Charlie saw that. I remember advising James on this as well. That with these NGOs, the risk is you get people on the board that are bad faith actors. And so he was careful to only put people he knew very well and very personally in these key positions of power and influence.
The problem is you get bad faith actors. But of course, that didn't happen in TPUSA's case.
He was very careful about that, how he structured it, how he ran it. So the people she's attacking are some of his closest friends, lifelong friends in several cases. And that's what makes it even nastier,
these were not
more pernicious.
lifelong friends.
Not a surprise given Candace's history. There isn't a single person that has platformed her or supported her that she has not betrayed at some point in her life or career. It's just who she is.
Once again, defamation there. Really. You guys are, this is, my God, I hope they go after you.
Speaking of which, Robert, one of the things I want to say to the chat over here, look, if you are suspicious of TPUSA,
excuse me, I've been watching Candace. Well, I did see Candace, like when the Black Lives Matter, that sort of, she came under my radar. I looked at her, I was like, oh yeah, some young girl. Ugh. Okay, yeah, she is a bit like everybody. I mean, I was kind of pissed off yesterday when she was on Twitter, or X, excuse me. And, she was like, well, Mitch Snow, I don't care about Mitch Snow. I just care about who killed Charlie Kirk. And this is the thing. She really hung him out. Now, she better not hang him out to dry, because they're going to come after him. They're really going to come after him. I mean, these Me Too bitches and these women, the feminists, they're not going to let something like this slide. Oh, they're going to take that and they're going to run with it. And that's why it's really, and all of these trolls, as you guys call them on the internet, they're going to really run with that. So it is important to defend him. I mean, see, this is, use somebody when you need them, use somebody when you need them, and when you're done, then you're done. So, that I was like, wait a second, you better care. And then because she was like, oh, this sounds like Me Too shit. And yeah, it is. And what is it? The Harvey Weinstein, because she's defended Harvey Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein apparently, I think he had cancer or something, but his testicles are not all there. So his accusers couldn't exactly describe what he has in his pants. So they're like, well, yeah, sorry. Obviously, he didn't sexually attack you. So anyway, she has defended him, and she's like, and somebody said, "Oh yeah, but Harvey Weinstein is somebody important. This Mitch Snow guy is nobody important." I was like, see, with the people like that, and particularly this nouveau riche ruling elite, with attitudes like that, you can't have a democracy, and we're gonna. It's fascism. No, that is fascism. That's the crux of it. Harvey Weinstein is important, but Mitch Snow, he's just some poor schmuck who was a vet and who got, you know, shafted by the VA, which we all, oh my lord, you think CPS, oh, he comes out with CPS, is bad. The VA is just as bad. They all need to be run out of town.
This entire stream is for you. And in a little while, we're going to open it up to questions. Now, again, if you want to learn something, if you're here to, I don't know, explore some objective truths, or at least to hear a different side of the story and then decide for yourself whether.
I love it. He always says that. These podcasters, no, we're just presenting you with the evidence and you're going to decide for yourself. And then in the next breath, done. It's all done. I explained. Nothing to see here. Done. Moving on. Shit.
Or not what Robert and TPUSA are saying, that's on you. But if you would like to have an opportunity to actually dig down to this and understand whether or not these accusations that there's money missing and all this other things are true, that's who this is for. Like, I don't believe that TPUSA is missing money. Just because I know what kind of attacks they were coming under from the IRS during the Biden administration. That being said,
how does he know what attacks they were coming under during the Biden administration? That I want to find out more about. What was that all about?
I do think that being a nonprofit and just being any sort of entity, we have to make sure that they're being held accountable and being responsible with people's money. I'm all for accountability. But I think we've gotten to a point in this whole discussion,
as long as it doesn't bother what I'm doing
about TPUSA, I think there's been so much disinformation and it's at such a fevered pitch that people have stopped listening to the truth. They've already concluded whatever they've decided the conclusion that they would prefer, whatever narrative they prefer, and they're not listening. And that can be on both sides.
See, this is what is ridiculous here. Let me open up. Okay. I think it should be okay. There. Yeah. Okay. So, I think if we go to the end, it was near the end. Oh gosh, this thing keeps on popping up. I don't want you.
10th Mountain Brigade, and people are talking about like his pizza tattoo, like I don't think if they did clarify to people that she was making dinner. And I also said to them, like, I don't need to show people the message either. So like, don't worry about like his, like, we'll clarify to people that she was making dinner. Okay, great. And they just blacked out the contact. So I can't obviously I can't say to you guys, like, it was a conversation, it could have been a conversation between me and Mel,
Okay.
So I was just like, could you just send that without the contact blacked out? And so that's what I'm waiting for.
Okay, I should have found that before I started. I mean, this came up in the whole discussion with Candace Owens on X that, all she's been doing is asking questions. And it was the guy who was a journalist or something. He's like, yeah, but what is it that you're exactly? This is driving me crazy. Let's see if we can find this. This was a bit earlier. Unfortunately, you don't see these guys.
Not swap narrative because they don't want any attention shine.
Recognize that, like to wrap. I did one episode on this, guys. This wasn't like it was
Personally,
basically the relationship between Brian Harpole and them had soured. That's what they told me. And they didn't just tell me that yesterday. I want to be clear. They also told me that when I sat across from Erica on the 15th. So there's not open communication right now between Brian Harpole and Turning Point USA. Yet they did feel it necessary to give us flights for the 15th. Well, where the heck were you? You were on our.
Yeah,
that is like actually that's a great ad.
We are all sitting 2 days come out and say, oh, don't listen to this guy. They apply labels. You know why we apply labels to people? That way you stop listening to them. Oh, what he says doesn't matter anymore because he's an abuser, because he's a fraud, because he's this, because he's that. Right?
Yeah.
Far more effort into discrediting that witness than there has actually been into validating the information that he's been given.
By the way, the best way to discredit him is to debunk his story. So I'm like, why don't you focus on this? You can act. Do you hate Mitch? Do you hate who he is as a human being? Do you believe he's a pathological liar? How about proving that something that he told us was a pathological lie? Doesn't that just make sense?
Zero convictions. All of the people saying that he.
Yeah. So sorry, I should have found that before. Yeah, but they he was like, but you're not telling us where you're going with this. What is it the ultimate conclusion? And she's like, I don't know. Ask anybody who investigates a crime. When they start asking questions. Sometimes something that'll lead to nowhere. Ask anybody, detective. Okay, we got to go down and check out this lead. No, nothing there. Okay, another lead. And until you find, oh, well, this is strange. Okay. And then it leads you. That's the way an investigation should be handled. Not, oh, we want to find this person guilty or innocent, and so then we're going to find the evidence that fits our narrative. These people are crazy. That's not that. It's so much in their mind that that's how you run an investigation, that's what they're doing. And if you don't do that, then you're the one who's crazy.
Discussion. So that's what this live stream is about. And I hope that you guys can be respectful enough over in the chat to where we don't have to ban you. Because if you're going to be disruptive and you're just going to go with ad hominems, we're going to ban you. But
if
this
you don't like
live
what you
stream
say,
is for
we're going to ban you.
And you can listen to what tax attorney Robert Barnes is saying about this, who understands this stuff at a very high level. And we're going to give you an opportunity.
Who understands this stuff at a very high level. Well, Gary, unfortunately, I understand it at an even higher level. The economics, the problems in the political arena and stuff. So, this condescending. He is so condescending, it is not even funny.
To ask questions, and those can be challenging. Those can be, however you want to do that. But I hope you at least listen to what's going on here so that you have both sides of the story, and then you can make a fair assessment of who's telling the truth.
And what you see through is the way they were structured is very normal for what Charlie was set out to do. Everything I've seen from the returns is very normal, nothing unusual there at all. And what people have made a big deal out of is misunderstanding basic information. And that's easy to do in the tax construct. This is like, people are like, how in the world did Donald Trump avoid paying taxes all those years? If you understand the real estate business, you understand that there are tons of ways it's designed to tax incentivize certain kind of business structures and business. Same with oil depreciation, things.
It's called tax avoidance instead of tax evasion. The IMF and the World Bank. discuss this problem at length, buddy.
Like this, that the tax laws are not always written to maximize revenue. They're written to control public policy and to try to get people to behave in a particular way and businesses to do things. Now, often it's kickbacks to lobbyists and all that jazz.
Keep on talking.
But the tax laws are a
talking.
joke, and I understand people getting confused by them because nobody can really read them. I had a client once, Joe Bannister, IRS whistleblower, that the IRS, of course, went after he blew the whistle on him, appeared on 60 Minutes, other programs. He'd actually read the whole code. And the judge was like, is he crazy? Who reads the entire Internal Revenue Code? So that was Joe, old school guy, honest, true believer in every respect. We got full acquittals for him, which was great. But they didn't stop him from harassing him. So I understand. So it's easy with tax and accounting to confuse the normie.
See, this attitude of, if you know how to work the system, you're smart. All over the place.
And so at first I thought maybe Wills in Finance was just getting confused. But then when I saw he was being deliberately deceptive, it was like Candace. At the beginning, it was like, okay, maybe she's just off the res and wants to connect things to other. And then it became clear, no, this is disingenuous. And this is what I would say to the people out there who think they're discovering the true conspiracy. You're actually being led away from the true conspiracy, because what we should be investigating is who was it that told Turning Point that building would be secure that day, and why wasn't it secure?
He makes a very good point here. Totally agree with him.
Why did they mislead him about drone access? It sounds like from you going up there that, in fact, the university is mistaken and thinks they own all the airspace above them.
Yeah.
But, those are issues because this could happen again. So whether it's negligence, recklessness, or deliberate intent, that's what we should be looking at. We should be looking at the Trantifa movement. We should be looking at arms queer assault of Salt Lake City. We should be looking at whether there was any FBI or CIA or other people nudging him on these online discussion boards. And so I think I accidentally did the thumb thing.
Yeah, he's right. He's right. Why aren't they doing that?
Shows up. But so these are the conspiracies we should be looking at. Are George Soros organizations connected to this Trantifa radicalization? They're making Manchurian candidates out of middle America. This kid 18 months ago was totally normal, libertarian leaning middle Utah. And all of a sudden he becomes so radicalized that he's smugly, as you can see him in court and in even his mugshot.
See, they're making Manchurian candidates. Then he jumps to Tyler Robinson. That's interesting. No? Slip of the tongue, buddy.
He's smug about what happened. He feels good. He thinks they should build statues to him for what he did.
And now, has he spoken with Tyler Robinson? Defamation again? He hasn't spoken with Tyler Robinson. He doesn't know what Tyler Robinson is thinking. He doesn't even know what Tyler Robinson knows. Tyler Robinson, everybody's, he's smiling court, he's smiling court. I'm like, well, I don't think he's really smiling. I think it's kind of the shape of his mouth. But also, Tyler Robinson doesn't have any access to any information. I don't know what his parents are telling him. I have no idea what anybody, but Tyler Robinson may be totally oblivious that of what's going on really in the outside world. I'm sure he is.
So how do they radicalize? Because if they can radicalize Tyler Robinson, they can radicalize anybody. These are the questions we should be asking. Who's doing this? Who's complicit? There's people
that can radicalize Tyler Robinson. They can radicalize anyone. I mean, what the frick?
They're going to be overtly complicit. In other words, I think the partner was. I think the message to his confession to the Discord board, I think was a tip-off. It was, hey, by the way, I've been caught. Anybody that knows anything, take your precautions. Now, he's not going to say it that way.
I think that's a very good theory about that note, that it was more of a code.
Going to say, I've been caught, it was really me, and act like nobody was involved. But the only reason you would write that to that board, or the most likely reason, is members of that board were complicit, maybe planning it, thinking about it. Clearly, I think he had help in the process, given his confidence.
Well, I think what's interesting is that
he's giving reason and agreeing with Candace that we need to investigate because he wasn't alone. what the frick is going on. He wasn't alone in this. Now, who else was involved? How high up does it go?
Of his messages were exculpatory for everyone receiving them. And I think that is, again, I definitely think his messages, his text messages to Lance Twiggs was completely fabricated to get him off the hook. And I agree with all those other things. And, this is
okay, so Gary, we have confirmed Gary believes that the message was fabricated to get Lance off the hook. I don't know. Well, I mean, yeah, was supposedly the intention.
Problem. I still see people down in the comments saying, Brian Harpole lied about being able to fly drones at UVU. I can tell you from firsthand experience, that is not a lie. UVU will not allow people to fly drones. I had to go.
This is a lie. This is a lie.
Off campus and fly the drone. And I did it, not knowing what was going to happen. We were just going to take that risk. Obviously, the security team can't go off campus and fly the drone and still, have good comms, see what's going on. And there's a whole lot of issues with that. And quite frankly, another one with the drone issue is that area that we mapped out was over 150 acres. They would have needed at least 5 to 6 drones, which means you have to have 6 drone operators, and then you'd have to have 2 or 3 extra drones ready to go up when those drones.
5 or 6 drones for that area? He is just trying to make excuses, and he'll go into the whole thing about the drones, about you're not being able to fly over UVU. That's not true. We've seen that. We've, litigated that. It's that you have to have a permit. You have to have their permission, if you will, a permit, whatever, permission to do it. And they didn't get the proper permission to do it that day at UVU. Again, incompetence. And he's trying to cover up. See, this is in this video, Gary Melton really shows that his incentive here, it's like, oh shit, we got to protect the military. Oh no, one of our buddies is being accused. This is bad ops for the military, and it is. And the Green Berets particularly, and it is. Well, I don't know Harpole is Green Beret, but I'm pretty sure Gary Martin is, and Mitch Snow is. It has been confirmed. So, stop lying. Once again, a lie.
Started to lose battery. So, there's so much misinformation, and this goes back to what you were saying about wolves in finance. It's the omission of facts that these people constantly, Candace continues to omit actual evidence and just makes up other stuff over here. And
Candace presents evidence for everything that she's saying. Everything.
Says things like, oh, you know what? You need to be Spider-Man to scale the walls to get to the roof. And it's little things like this they continue to build narratives out of that are just false. Like the allegation is false. The foundation on which it was built is false. And then on top of that, they completely omit any sort of evidence that contradicts the narrative that they want to push. And
see, it's false. It's false. He never presents any evidence. And then, they just present evidence that is contradictory to the official narrative. Well, if that's where it takes you, that's where it takes you, buddy.
Clearly, that's what you're saying. I've watched some of the wolves and finance stuff. It's number one, I find it boring, is the real answer. And I don't find it that interesting. And, it's kind of a
condescension. I find it boring. Well, some people actually, it's important to be able to read a financial statement and find out what's going on in the finances of something particular if you have a company, buddy.
Above my head when it comes to all the taxes and trying to figure out whether or not this is true. It's just not my area of expertise.
Oh, exactly. And I think the the other aspect of all this, so I think people that think they're doing the real investigation should realize they're following Candace. They're being misled away from the real investigation. That, they'll often say, oh, you trust the FBI. I don't trust the FBI at all. I've waged legal war on them for about a quarter century. So I'm the guy that thinks the January 6th person, they say Brian Cole, is a patsy. I don't think he's the guy who did it at all. I think it's a former current CIA employee who did it. But so I have no problem. But one thing that's critical, I encourage people to study things like COINTELPRO, PSYOPs, etc. I mean, years ago, the Bolsheviks pulled this off. They created an anti-Bolshevik entity to get everybody together, and they thought they were working together to take down the Bolsheviks, and it was actually secretly run by the Bolsheviks so they could spot all their enemies, right? So COINTELPRO was famous for this. The Malcolm X assassination happened in large part because the FBI sowed false information within the Nation of Islam concerning what Malcolm X was doing. So if you let's say you have a real conspiracy that could implicate powerful people like George Soros and others, maybe even rogue government agencies and actors in a Manchurian case.
Right. He's telling Gary Melton, who is military, they're supposed to protect and defend the American people, the Constitution, our territory. They're supposed to be our defenders. No. They're the ones who are going and fighting all of these unending wars and trafficking children and raping and pillaging and committing serial human rights violations. So he's listened to all of this. Yeah, it's corrupt, it's corrupt, it's corrupt. But wait a second, you're defending, here or on the battlefield, you are defending a government that does all of these things and oppresses its people. What does that make you?
Candidate type project. You would be paranoid that the smartest, most thorough, most skeptical people would find out. So how do you keep them from finding out? You give them a patsy, and you give them and that's what I think Candace is creating the patsy. Candace is the psyop to lead people away from making.
He realized that he made a gaffe there. You need a patsy. Tyler Robinson. Oh, but Candace is creating the patsy. No, Candace is trying to debunk. Oh, he was like, oh shit.
Making meaningful investigations and inquiry as to the broader story of Tyler Robinson and how it happened and how that could impact our security going forward. Both the university's complicity and the lack of security that they appear to have been overtly involved in at some level, but also a range of other individuals, including that whole trans community. I mean, I do a lot of pro bono work for my whole legal career representing victims of abuse. So, guys like Snow, you could see coming a mile away. But I think it reflects what Candace wanted to hear, so she puts him on platforms. So most people would have the discernment to not know. I like people keep comparing her to Alex Jones. I'm like, Alex is extremely careful. He has read a ridiculous amount of material, and you very rarely see him make any accusation that's that particular that doesn't end up having verifiable truth in the end. More often.
I mean, this guy, Alex Jones, destroyed his career $1.4 billion lawsuit against him for the Sandy Hook stuff. I can't believe this guy. How can he look at himself in the mirror? And it appears, apparently Alex Jones, I guess Laura Loomer went to Israel, then met with Alex Jones, and conveniently Alex Jones is all good to go. So I think Alex Jones cut a deal. I mean, this guy, you talk about a little. Oh, Candace, we need to bring in the midget horse on this one.
Than not, he's hyper conscious, but he understands what templates work. Like as you were breaking it down to someone in the military, even if you had the military plan an assassination, what they don't do is show up at a particular base where some rando lunatic can walk in on them. The idea that they would do it that way is just preposterous. So it's not knowing how the templates of power really operate. And I encourage people use Candace as a lesson.
It was precisely, like the odds of somebody walking into that thing were like a snowball in hell. So, bad luck for you guys. I don't know. Maybe it was Lord's hand.
And as a life lesson, how to distinguish between, you don't have to choose the FBI or Candace Owens. You can choose someone totally opposite of that, because usually the truth is going to be in neither camp, because the Candace of the world are leading you away from the truth. And that doesn't mean you have to go trust the FBI. It means we should be looking at the broader, bigger story of Tyler Robinson. Who was he connected to? Who radicalized him? Whether they're government actors, NGO actors, the whole trans movement.
Well, obviously, I mean, the FBI or local enforcement could be doing that. They have much more resources than Candace. Candace said she had 4 people. And this whole thing, Candace is not doing anything. I was like, people, you don't understand the time it takes to verify all of these things, collect the evidence, make sure that everything is true and has been verified, takes a lot of time. This guy is out of control.
I represent tons of victims of domestic abuse over the years. Number one flag that you are guaranteed to end up in a violent relationship is if you are involved with a trans relationship. Trans relationships have a violence level over 80%. And that's with their most intimate partners. This isn't even dealing with all the violence.
Now, I think he's pulling that statistics out of a hat, and love to see him prove it. I mean, I believe that normally what we've been seeing is really there's not much of a difference between like heterosexuals and homosexuals in domestic violence. It's pretty much the same. So I also point that out to all of the domestic violence people. I'm like, well, then it's not a problem of patriarchy. Because if you had 2 women together, we see it there. So obviously, your theory goes out the window.
Violence that occurs outside of the intimate relationship by people connected to trans. Because if you can convince people that they're not the gender God gave them, what else can you convince them of? It's like the ultimate Manchurian candidate possibility. They become very susceptible to all kinds of brainwashing, which we've seen in live time with Tyler Robinson.
And we precisely see why this is precisely the reason that nobody has effectively gone up against the trans movement, because it produces this.
Robinson, but she's totally not curious about that, totally not investigating any of that. No investigation into George Soros, no investigation into all the Soros NGOs that prop this up, no investigation into arms.
Well, he can do his investigation into George Soros. Who is he to tell Candace what she should be investigating? What the frick? And if George Soros comes into the picture, well, then he may. But if that's his theory, then go with it, buddy. Go with it.
And they all armed queers. The investigation got shut down that was trying to be run by ODNI, Joe Kent, a former military guy himself who lost his wife due to our stupid wars overseas all over the place. He was trying to investigate potential for
our stupid wars overseas, and you're talking to a military guy. Yeah, these guys are costing us a shitload of money. And then they come and then they produce propaganda and distribute propaganda.
Ties to Tyler Robinson and those groups, because you dig deep, you're going to find a lot of them get NGO money, and that some of those are going to be tied to foreign governments and internet, even the UN. I mean, the UN is deeply connected.
Yes, some of them are going to be like TPA USA. Some of them are going to be tied to foreign governments and UN. We need an investigation into the UN. They're the same can of worms. The UN, IMF, and World Bank, they've all gone woke, but they're in New York and DC. That brings them into United States jurisdiction. Those people, the crimes that they're committing, okay, some of it was overseas, but we got enough here. I got a whole list and a whole long list of names.
It's all illegal immigration. They've been helping to fund a lot of the NGOs that are literally doing the trafficking into the United States through El Salvador, Panama, and all the rest.
Or Romania, like we saw with Erica Kirk's nonprofit. in collusion with the military. Trafficking children. We see this all the time.
So those are areas we should be looking at, but we're not, because Candace is busy accusing Erica Kirk,
We're not, because Candace is accusing Erica Kirk. That's ludicrous. Candace doesn't tell the FBI what to do. Candace doesn't tell the local government what to do. Candace doesn't tell other podcasters who are welcome. He's welcome to follow that. It's a very, very interesting theory. I'd like somebody to follow it. Ian Carroll, where are you?
TPUSA, accusing the security team, accusing the U.S. government, accusing everybody except who actually did it. And what she's doing is she's trying, effectively, she's giving the capacity for the people who will most believe her are trans people themselves, so that when they get on the jury, they can say, "Oh, I know from Candace, it was their."
Oh, we're going to have a jury filled with trans people now.
Own person who did it, and so they can feel good about acquitting Tyler Robinson, which would be the most ultimate travesty and slap in the face to Charlie Kirk, would be to orchestrate a conspiracy that leads to Tyler Robinson walking free. And that's what she's really doing. And a lot of people out there that are supporting her and cheerleading her don't want to admit that.
That's not what she's doing. Nobody's trying to get Robinson to walk free. They're trying to find the truth. They keep on deviating the narrative
about themselves. They don't want to admit what they're doing is helping a murderer get away with it. They're helping a true conspiracy.
The presumption of innocence. A murderer get away free. He has not been tried and convicted. And this is precisely presumption of innocence, presumption of innocence.
Get away with it. Because we need to look at these things broader and deeper, or it will happen again and again and again, like it did with trans shooters in Minnesota, like it did with trans shooters in Nashville.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. That's one of the things. Number one, I actually went and
one of the things that I have in my Gmail inbox is I was looking for, I forget if it was Katie Couric but anyway, it was, remember the DC sniper? I forget what year that was, but that was at least 20 years ago. Katie Couric, Mildred Muhammad, the wife of the DC sniper, she spoke with Katie Couric about the problems in family courts and stuff. We have it in the email, but it was cut. The documentary that Katie Couric did was cut. Katie Couric is on the list of, the podcasters are just following the path to prison of the journalist.
Interviewed Chase Hughes. I don't know if you know who he is, but he kind of is well known for understanding mind control, how it works in psychology, and that's why I wanted to get his take on all this stuff, was because I have, and it's kind of an open theory, it's not like it's mine, but you kind of brought it up. I do think that there's something particular about trans and maybe even the LGBTQ community in general that make it much more easier to target and or radicalize and weaponize and direct toward a target that they want to. So I think, because we see this trend, and what it is like we see these trans shooters coming up or people associated with that movement, and then on top of that, like, they're dead, they're gone, and then we don't get any answers to anything that happened. We don't see any sort of digital footprint. We don't see any of that. And I find that very suspicious. And this goes with Thomas Crooks as well. I still think that there is a cover up. I do think that Thomas Crooks was radicalized and weaponized and actually directed at Donald Trump. But we haven't seen any of that information. And I think it's ludicrous to think that he doesn't have an expansive digital footprint. And we haven't.
Why isn't he on it? I mean, we haven't seen it. We haven't seen it. Why?
Seen that. Now, that could be for a couple different reasons, as I've talked about before. It could be that, yeah, we have a deep state that's involved that is covering that up. Number two, the government can know about it, but doesn't want to release that information because maybe they're investigating that aspect, and or they just don't want the public to know because they don't want them to know how effective this is and scare the public. I don't know what the reason is, but I think there's a clear pattern that, and I also think that it's so much easier to radicalize someone and point them to toward a target like Charlie Kirk, as opposed to get 15 different shooters and, possibly compromise this large network of people because you have to physically be on the ground. I think it's just easier to radicalize somebody online, to find them, to identify a certain profile that is more susceptible toward, we'll just call it psychological manipulation in that manner. And that is something that's not being explored. And that's where we're going to be shifting focus middle of this week, because I want to focus on that. No one else really is. And I think it's really important.
A good idea. Instead of bashing Candace, go and focus on that. That's an issue that needs to be investigated. But leave Candace alone. I mean, Candace has every right to investigate anything she freaking wants.
Important. I think people need to see what's going on here. And you're right. There's a whole bunch of people. If we look at what the effects of Candace's campaign is, it is, number one, taking the spotlight off of the left. Number two, it is undermining the Trump administration. What I also see is that most of the people that
this is the problem, undermining the Trump administration. Just like TPUSA, he's shooting himself in the head by himself. Okay, stop blaming. Trying to find somebody to blame for all the crap that you people are producing.
Our Candace followers happen to also be never Trumpers. They happen to be on the left. What it's also doing is undermining our faith and trust, and what little faith and trust we have left in our U.S. institutions. So there's a lot of people that would benefit from that. We always talk about we always say follow the money. Well, money is just a tool. What they want is power and influence. And if we see what is the power and influence that is being gained from this entire campaign, it is foreign operatives. It is definitely the deep state. The deep state was trying to get rid of Charlie Kirk, TPUSA, prior to Trump's reelection, and they didn't stop. All they did was change tactics. And I think at a minimum.
So why doesn't he want to find out what really happened? I mean, it makes no sense whatsoever what Gary Melton is saying.
I don't know if Candace is directly involved with this, but at a minimum, she is being exploited and being used by all these other foreign and or political actors, I think, without a doubt.
No doubt. I've said
he's
that
being used by foreign and political actors. Which ones? What are you accusing? What's the accusation there?
Either a useful idiot, which can be an unwitting, unknowing, complicit party in all of this, or a knowing person. I mean, she has just an unusual history. Now, I think the psychology that's at work in part is kind of starved for attention. She seems to be driven by that more than anything else. But the other thing is she has this propensity for betrayal. I don't know if you remember the Equalizer movie. This is the analogy I use. One of my favorite films, Denzel Washington, great film. I love the Equalizer growing up as a kid. Used to be part of my legal advertising, to equal the odds, all that kind of thing. So there's a scene where Denzel Washington is explaining to the Russian character, who's the lead villain, who had been, the backstory is that he was an abused kid who had a foster parent who took care of him and then died, mysteriously was murdered in a robbery. And Denzel Washington figures out the kid did it himself. And he says, and he gives him a psychoanalysis. And he says, I think you as a kid were so betrayed so often that when this guy actually loved you, you couldn't handle it. So you killed him because you thought you couldn't handle the betrayal that you thought must be coming. And there's an aspect, Candace Owens, both her parents abandoned her. She grew up with her grandparents as a black kid in a wealthy white community, Stamford, Connecticut. A history of crying wolf, whether it's race allegations or other things when she's in school. Gets a sweetheart deal with
Oh my Lord. See, when he pulled this one out, I was like, buddy, again with the defamation shit. You're opening yourselves up because, Candace, this whole thing, apparently Candace was bullied, and so she was homeschooled. She went home, but then they had filed a lawsuit against the school because she had to leave school, and it covered what it cost. They said, it was $36,000 or something. It's not like she got some $1 million, it covered probably the cost of her lawyer and the cost of being homeschooled at that price, buddy. This whole thing, up until today, the narrative has Mitch Snow is just manipulating her. We have nothing against Candace. We have nothing against Candace. We love Candace. We love Candace. We love Candace. I mean, that was the narrative. Now, since that didn't work, they're flipping. And now it's the attack on Candace. This is Freudian bullshit 101.
Lord, that's like a $3,500 penthouse, finally has to evict her because she doesn't pay any rent. And then she accuses the landlord of putting in black mold and trying to cause her disease. And she loses terribly in court. But it gives you a sense. And then, PragerU, Dave Rubin.
I hope I don't know all the details of this, but I think he's switching things around there. And I wish Candace would sue him for defamation. I know it's like, oh God, every single day then we're going to have to file a lawsuit.
Daily Wire and TPUSA are the people who platform her. She's turned on all of them now. She's betrayed all of them, attacks all of them, says they're all awful and horrible and evil and up to bad things. So this is the pattern with her psychologically. And the reason why I thought it couldn't just be attention driven is because there's attention to be drawn to the George Soros connection. There's attention to be drawn to the Antifa movement. There's attention to be drawn to Manchurian candidate recruitment by the like.
Well, draw attention. The Manchurian candidate.
You mentioned Chase Hughes. Yeah, Chase is a buddy of mine. Great guy. I represent him in some whenever he's got a defamation issue or something else he has to deal with, where other people are defaming him and him not defaming them. But he's brilliant understanding mind control, and he will say that the susceptibility to mind control is increased with things like you don't know what gender you are. It's probably the easiest trigger to have full mind control. So I think like those are the things we should be researching, should be investigating, and they have all these researchers running around making up numbers about tax returns, making up stories about Doge audits, making up claims about military bases, relying, Egyptian airplanes, the French Legion. Somehow bees are connected. Have you figured out how bees are connected? I'm still not figuring out how the.
Oh my Lord! See, you just said, well, can't figure out how they're connected. Get busy and do something. Now I have a French nationality, so I am very much, and this comes in to Sarkozy 2011 elections when Dominique Strauss-Kahn was arrested in the New York courts. All of this is related. These guys are all in bed together. I know. I've rubbed shoulders with some of them my entire life.
The bees are connected. I think she took that from the movie Beekeeper. I think that's where she got that from. But what's also going to happen? Her
asshole. There's also the Fable of Bees of Bernard Mandeville. Economics 101, asshole.
And Nick Fuentes, you dig in. A lot of their they have a lot of AstroTurf support. Like people start doing deep dives, and a majority of their X feed is bots. I don't know if you've noticed that. I get the same response.
Pointed out every single day.
Yeah, I mean, they're always there.
Oh, you go every single day on everybody's platform when they're doing live and count their bots. Pretty pathetic, Gary Melton.
My favorite bot account was one called "I Am a Real Man." I was like, I think that's probably evidence, maybe not. But I mean, they're always like 25.
Well, maybe you guys should open up an account that's called "I'm a Real Man."
Numbers after their name. It's some dude in India, going boop 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 boop, whatever it is. And a lot of the platforms are.
Oh, some dude in India. Okay, well, see if everybody would help me with all of the lawsuits that we need to file and move forward that particularly gets into that outsourcing stuff. My web designers in Tampa, Florida, Indian, they were doing that, and one of the things they were doing stuff illegal, because if you do outsourcing, you have to have a certain amount of hours and things that are done in the United States, and you can only outsource to a certain amount. Now, all of that has been to, reduce cost, and cheap labor, instead of an efficient labor market that produces quality products and services instead of crap in a third world country.
Yeah, what I've seen as far as the bots go, because now that Elon is actually showing the country of origin on there, they've had to revert to old accounts. So you have a lot. Two things are happening. They're either brand new accounts with like 25 to 100 followers that started in September, or they're these 8 or 10-year-old accounts that do, and both of them do nothing but retweet Candace and Ian Carroll and Baron Coleman. Like, you see this trend, and there's no human behind it. But number one, they're boosting their numbers, as in what they want to push, which is Candace's narrative and all of her downstreamers and everybody within her orbit. And then they come to accounts like mine and probably yours, and they just talk shit, and then they're trying to downvote.
But see, Candace and her narrative of what she wants to push. I mean, it's always this like vague references.
Like the opposition, and it's just ridiculous. And of course there's real people out there that feel this way. I get it, but I'm just saying, I've been on X long enough to see, like, this person is saying all these, just trolling me, and I look on it, and guess what? They got 25 followers, 80 followers. They're a 10-year-old account, and they got 100 followers. Like, that isn't real, and it's very obvious, and I don't know.
Oh, so I'm not real. Let's see, my account, I think in 2011, I think I have 17 followers. I'm here. I'm real. I can assure you, buddy, I'm real. I'm just not trying to be a podcaster. I haven't been using YouTube for that end.
Where that's coming from, whether that's George Soros, whether that's foreign adversaries. But the point here is that there is real AstroTurf pushing her numbers.
Yeah, we have a real problem with regulation of YouTube. This is our government that should be doing that.
On X, on YouTube, on Spotify, and everywhere else.
What I get a kick out of it, sometimes they'll come back and they'll critique me in ways that's so generic that you can tell it's like a bot, in the sense that they'll say, well, I guess you just love Israel and you get your $7,000 check. I'm like, I've been one of the highest profile critics of PB Netanyahu for the last year. So it's like somebody doesn't pay much attention. I'm the person who said, I think that.
Oh, these guys don't pay any attention. They're tripping over their, let's keep it polite, their tongues all the time.
Two Trump assassination attempts have deep state ties. Both the Ukraine guy in Florida, they managed to cover that all up. And nothing about Butler makes sense to me to this day, from just taking it as a straight narrative. And that kid, had like 4 phones? Somehow, I mean, there was all this information we never got. I mean, his house was like wiped clean? I don't think so.
He
just happens to go to the firing range on the day the feds are there over and over again.
They're confirming that we should be concerned.
I'm not buying. So, but the key is, if you want to explore the truth, even if it leads to information that questions powerful narratives of powerful institutions, what you have to stay away from is the crazy stories that are meant to distract you and discredit you. If I was Israel, I would be writing huge checks to Candace Owens and Nick Fuentes every day.
How do you distinguish what is crazy and what is not until you've thoroughly investigated it?
Because just by association, they make the criticism of Israel sound like, oh, you sound like Candace Owens. You sound like Nick Fuentes. Candace Owens thinks Stalin was a Jew. The Nick Fuentes, I've debated him. I've had a long
Hitler
time
was part Jew.
And it was clear what he was doing was an old David Duke race grift. He's trying to moderate it now that Tucker let him sit down and talk with him and be a little more reasonable. But there was nothing about them. What they do is they actually discredit. I've been trying to tell Jimmy Dore this, because Jimmy Dore keeps and I like Jimmy, interviewed him before and so forth. But he just
love it how they always, start out criticizing somebody. I like this person, and then they launch into
putting out Candace's kooky, crazy, loony latest theories. And I'm like, what you're doing is helping the people that you think you're undermining. You think you're undermining the position of Israel in the United States, and whenever it wants to bomb somebody someplace somewhere, when in fact you're helping them, because you're affiliating and associating legitimate criticisms ordinary Americans have about being too involved in Middle Eastern wars on behalf of anybody, Israel or anyone else, with crazy people who think small Jewish conspiracies run the whole world, and that even Stalin was a Jew, and that maybe Joseph Mengele got a bad rap.
See, all of these people are crazy. All of these people are crazy. You know, just because somebody says something that you disagree with doesn't mean that they're crazy.
I mean, I got prominent a little bit with Candace, because I've been warning about this for a while. Candace, I followed her all the way through from the very beginning of Red Pill Conservative when she first started her YouTube channel. And it was an unusual conversion. Didn't seem like a conversion of conscience, right? You know, someone who's been a liberal Democrat their whole life, their project to dox people.
I highly doubt this guy has been watching Candace. This is just more hyperbole.
Doesn't go well with liberals. And so all of a sudden, overnight, they become a conservative. That sounds like convenient. And all of a sudden, they start getting lots of attention from conservatives. And that's when they become conservative. I was a little bit skeptical, but her timing was good because it was summer of 2016. You had a lot of people, you know, there were Bernie supporters coming over to Trump. So she timed it really well. And being black helped. And she learned the lingo really, really fast. Yeah. That I give her credit for. But she had this habit of anybody that competed with her at any level, one, betraying anybody that ever really supported her. That was one red flag. But the other red flag was if any black conservative got prominent at all, briefly, she would libel them ruthlessly. She also libeled other people. She libeled Steven Crowder when he was trying to break the Nashville trans story. She libeled Nicole Arbor. She libeled a bunch of black conservatives who they'd come to me over the years complaining about this. So I was like, she's had a pattern of being an unreliable narrator that often is motivated by something personal that is completely disconnected from the actual story she's supposed to be covering. And so I was skeptical of it anyway. But like, take Macron. I have big criticisms of Macron. I mean, he's a Rothschild bank guy, clearly a bit of a perv. I mean, you know, married a school teacher. I'm sorry, it's not normal. The affiliated and associated, and I think he wants to get us into World War III if he could over Ukraine.
Yeah.
So I want criticism of Macron. But now Macron is going to be able to, he's going to win that suit with ease. She's completely cooked because of what she said. People think, oh, he just said Macron's wife is a man. No, she said Macron's wife is his father. That's what she said. You know, I mean,
all of these people who were criticizing Candace about the Macron lawsuit, again, they know nothing about it. They haven't looked into it at all.
Nutty. 125 false statements I counted. It was just over the, you know, the brother isn't really the brother. The sister isn't really the sister. This family member doesn't even really live. They're all part of a secret Jewish incestuous conspiracy theory. So what happens if Macron wins that suit? He gets to now discredit any criticism of him. Oh, you're saying stuff like Candace Owens. So this is how the game works. The COINTELPRO type operation is intended to be self-discrediting and divisive within the very community that would otherwise raise questions about government corruption.
One of the other...
Then the very community that otherwise would raise questions. See, the thing is these guys need to take a mirror to themselves.
The two most unfortunate things behind the Candace campaign. Number one is it completely destroys and attacks Charlie's life work, as well as all of the gains and momentum that he's made in the Conservative Party, especially in the youth. You know, going back the last few years, that's what that has done. Like, she has been more effective at that than I would have ever thought she would have been. But the other part of this, kind of what you're talking about, is the fact that it also...
This is ludicrous. So TPUSA has gotten millions of dollars since Charlie has was assassinated. They had, I mean, we have Erica Kirk saying how all of these new chapters have started, It's exploding since Charlie Kirk's death, yet Candace is destroying TPUSA. That makes sense.
Undermines and discredits every single, independent news journalists, podcasters that are out there trying to get facts and information. Like, it just destroys the credibility, and we need it more than ever. We know that we don't have MSM because they did the exact same thing. They created narratives, and then they looked for evidence to push those narratives. They omitted facts that discredited the narrative they're trying to push, and that's exactly what she's doing and other people are doing. So we're out fake newsing, the fake news, and that's what's going on with this. And it destroys the credibility of all these independent journalists. It really does.
Yep.
Well, and people should just ask themselves, if Alex Jones is the one making up stories, why is he still off of YouTube and Candace Owens one of the biggest promoted people on YouTube? Right? They're a little give. I mean, the other thing is, here's somebody who made most of her money and bones connected to Israel supporting groups. PragerU, Horowitz's group, Daily Wire, Dave Rubin. So it's like, I'm a little bit curious how this sudden shift, wondering about how that's going to work. But you look at the broader contours, you're right. It discredits independent views. If you ask questions, that must mean, like for years, I've represented people in the so-called tax protest movement. And that started off with some sincere questions, good questions, like why does our tax law not define what income is? It just defines it in a self-referential and circular way. Why doesn't it have a clear liability section? Good questions. There's reasons Congress is hiding. Congress wants to be able to do a property tax down the road, disguised as a wealth tax that they're talking about now. But they want to get away with it by never having defined income. So the goal is to keep it legally flexible. But legally, historically, if you don't clearly define what's being taxed and don't who has to pay it, you're not under American legal principle, going all the way back to the English legal principles, you don't have to pay the tax. So they start off with these really good questions that go to the core of what the heck's going on and then what happens? They inject it with crazy ideas. And so all of a sudden somebody that, first, just had a fundamental belief about raising questions, all of a sudden thinks that they're a UCC, that their birth certificate was sold to the census, that what's being sued is in maritime court, and that's a ship. And I have had these honest conversations with people. It's like, what happened? But what does it do? To the normie out there, they hear any questions raised, I've heard that. That's all crazy, people. That's all crazy talk, right? People who thought that if they go into the court and they don't pass the bar, that magically that they can't be held liable and some other things like that. I mean, it's some interesting thoughts.
Yeah.
It becomes a laughingstock, right? Sovereign citizen becomes a joke. But these people had fair, reasonable questions. How does the relationship between the government and the individual work? Does the tax law, is it...
Excuse me, sovereign citizen that he brings up there? That's not a crazy idea, because as I say, I've been working for 20 years trying, and Candace Owens, everybody has renounced their rights. Sovereign citizen, well, the people are reclaiming sovereign citizen rights because their government has given up their sovereignty rights by not doing their job. That's why they're coming up with sovereign citizen.
And those questions get ignored and drowned out by the disinformation and the COINTELPRO type operation that that builds divisions within the movement and discredits them to the normie. And that's effectively what Candace is doing. She's discrediting any second guessing, any questions about the Tyler Robinson murder by coming up with loonier and loonier, nuttier and nuttier, wackier and wackier ideas and theories and themes. And whether it's because of some psychosis that she has, whether it's this sense of betrayal. I mean,
please, Candace, take these people to court.
Charlie boosted her tremendously. And she's taking advantage of the fact that Charlie never cut ties with anybody. Charlie was the great bridge builder. The two real deep enemies of Charlie were the American deep state and various foreign governments, because Charlie was, for example, people don't know this, but he was the reason why we didn't escalate in Iran beyond the bombing. That there was talk within the White House of us actually going into Iran and trying to do a full regime change operation. And Charlie was the guy in the White House saying, you can't do it, you can't do it, you can't do it. And he was someone who had credibility with Trump, credibility with J.D. Vance.
Oh, Lord. This gives more of a motive. Oh, this is a ding-ding moment.
Credibility with key people there, because he is the big young conservative that helped create 2024 in the first place.
And he probably let him know that he wouldn't support him to do it, and he was the reason they got elected. I think the amount of influence and power because of what Charlie did, I think will always be underestimated. I don't think people really understand how influential he really was. And I know there's a lot of people that talk about that he could have been,
was turning against
president.
Israel.
Maybe that was on his radar, maybe not. What I would like to just kind of bringing it back to, the tax structure of TPUSA, and then I want to get to some questions. I know there's a bunch of questions about that, and I want to get the audience in here a little bit. is there, what should people know ultimately about the claims, like people with Wolves and Finance, and all the claims and allegations of impropriety when it comes to their funds in general? And then, what would you like them to know about TPUSA when it comes to, their finances?
So there was nothing wrong at all with any aspect of TPUSA's finances. They were clearly complied with tax law. There was no fraud there, no evidence of any fraud there, misappropriation of any kind there. Charlie didn't suspect any kind of misappropriation. He always wanted to act at maximum efficiency. He was the most efficient operator under the most scrutiny of any NGO in the last half century. I mean, so he was very disciplined about that. All the accusations are false. There's no proof to them whatsoever. If you look at the 990 forms, they completely comply with existing tax law. That's why you've seen nobody, like people on the left at Turning Point, they haven't come out and made any of these claims because nobody who understands tax law could credibly say anything bad about their tax returns. And
I had thought about that. That would have been red meat for the left, and I hadn't seen them act on that at all. And that is a really good point on that.
The other aspect of that is, I mean, the number one, like, cui bono of the American deep state was the left. The hard left, especially like the Trantifa movement and others, recognized Charlie was the most effective conservative in the country, more effective than Donald Trump at reaching young people, right? The very institutions that they inculcate their radical values he was reversing course entirely as a one-man band doing it. And so they had the number one motivation to take him out. There was talk that J.D. Vance was going to consider Charlie for vice president, other things like that down the road. So those kind of things were afoot, but that was more a decade away plus away from him being elevated into public office. But it was the hard left that had captured our institutions that saw that Charlie was the only one. Ben Shapiro was doing his little things and whatnot. He never broke through. Charlie did. Charlie broke through in a big way. And then he managed to break through in new ways because he was what people didn't know. He was the behind the scenes bridge builder. All any of us had to do to get information to Trump, Vance, other people was get it to Charlie. And the Trump administration balancing their position on Israel more.
This is making it look more and more likely that it was a Trump, J.D. Vance. This is what I thought from the beginning. Charlie Kirk is, I mean, before I found out all of the Israel stuff, but, maybe they got some partnerships going on there. But anyway, Charlie Kirk, if he's not going to toe the line, he's of no further use. He would have been, if he was going to toe the line, J.D. Vance, Charlie Kirk ticket would have maybe been good. So you toe the line or we get rid of you.
Geopolitical realist position that at times they go back and forth on whether they're going to get there or not. But that was heavily inspired by Charlie, saying, look, this is where young MAGA is. This is where we need to go. But he tried to keep everybody in the fold. And he's one of those guys. I once said, only person I've apologized to in arguing was Charlie Kirk. Because I was like, hey, I think I really hammered him on some stuff. And he emailed me. He's like, oh, here's what actually happened. And I was like, that guy got it wrong. Sorry. Apologize. So that's who Charlie was. He was impossible to dislike. He was the living reincarnation of everything great about Reagan. The sunny optimism, the idealism, that you don't turn on a brother.
He was another Reagan, and Erica Kirk is another Nancy Reagan. Oh, Lord, Arizona, here we go again. See, this goes back. I told Patriotic Housewives, I'll do it myself. This needs to be as deep a dive as I did in Louisiana Democratic Party into the Republican Party of Arizona. One of the members is my mother.
All of those things. And and I think Candace had some other ambitions with Charlie all the way back that she was disappointed by and things that happened. I think there's maybe more reasons she's anti-Erica than people know about. But I'll leave that.
I am so sick and tired of insinuations that this is something that Candace has something against Erica because she's jealous because Erica stole her man, Charlie Kirk. That is so ludicrous. I do believe, I might get the timeline wrong here. I believe Candace got married before Charlie did. And I'm sorry, Candace is a beautiful, smart woman. If she had wanted Charlie Kirk, she could have had Charlie Kirk. Huh.
As is for now. But Charlie was one of the great Americans, and we dishonor and disrespect his legacy and his life by letting Candace Owens spread false conspiracies that could let his murderer walk free. And the true conspirators never get even investigated.
Well, and I think that's a problem that we have in society as general. Like, it's not just Charlie, it's not just TPUSA, and it's not just Erica. It is, look, there's something to the fact that we as a society have always agreed upon, and it's really an American principle that this country is built upon. We do not accuse people of crimes unless we have evidence. It's just not how it works. And then if you are going to accuse somebody of a crime, you have the evidence. The burden of proof is on the accuser, and we don't blackmail someone into proving their innocence. That is our justice system, our American principles turned on its head. And that's not how it should be. It never has been before.
Yes.
And now it's not only accepted, it's encouraged, and unfortunately it's become monetized.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The way I put it was, she put out that proof, and it was like, the proof is, let's say somebody breaks into your house, gets caught and removed, and then says, "Oh, I saw you murder someone inside the house." And it's like, so you get to make that kind of extraordinary claim because you broke into my house? Because, yeah. It was insane. The logic that they're going, it's what they want to believe for a range of psychological reasons. Plus, he's very good at it. She has all the fingerprints of a psyop. Do you know what I mean? And then you look at, she's married to the son of a British lord. You know what I mean? If I'm looking for unusual connections, it ain't in Erica Kirk's family. It's who Candace is married to. There's all kinds of issues there.
Oh my God. See, okay, I'll do a breakdown on these families. I've been doing some stuff on Ancestry. But as I said before, George Farmer, his father was an extremely poor, I think maybe he lived in an orphanage or something like that, but very, very poor. Rags from riches story.
She was known as Queen Candace all the way back to CPAC. I remember 2018. Everybody, all the other conservatives called her Queen Candace because that was her mindset already. So the idea that we're going to let this queen, I call her the Queen of QAnon now. She's just QAnon part 2. And if you remember going through that, I took tons of crap because I said I called out QAnon early on because I was like, this is a rogue intel operation. This feels like a psyop. It's intended to divert people who are doing good research and good work into not doing that. They're not looking at the deep aspects of Russiagate, not looking at what was going to happen in the 2020 election, because QAnon said all of it's taken care of and all of it's fine. And QAnon was and the lady that got killed on January 6th, she went in there thinking that the generals in the white hats wanted them to go take over the Capitol so they could arrest the bad faith actors, because he believed all this QAnon stuff. And I remember, and if you look at the way people respond, the cultish mindset,
she believed QAnon, or she believed Donald Trump. See how they
own techniques. They're all QAnon techniques. They're not built on good reason. That's why she could never win a trial. If she went to trial, she's going to get cooked in the Macron case. And anybody else suing her is going to be able to win with these too, because you can see how careless she is. She doesn't vet anything. She doesn't vouch for anything. She appeals based on emotion, not based on logic.
See, we're getting into a moment here. These guys should take a mirror and put it up in front of their face, because they're not talking about Candace, they're talking about themselves.
It's psychological and emotional driven appeal meant to manipulate people. That's why your audience is also disproportionately women more than men, and she's very good at it. But this is QAnon part 2, the sequel, and they just found a very useful idiot maybe knowingly, maybe unknowingly, but who is spreading QAnon Part 2 for the same disruptive, divisive purposes within the populist movement. And at the same time, it distracts from the true criminals who are going to get to keep getting away with it if we keep getting caught in the Candace QAnon trap.
What is the odds of TPUSA winning a defamation suit against, we already know the answer. I think I know the answer against Candace. Forget about that. But against Wolves and Finances. I mean, he's alleging a lot of impropriety with, I don't know, with really zero evidence. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, no.
It would be very easy. And I've told Turning Point, I also want Turning Point to I know the law enforcement wants them to step back, but I want them to dig in deeper. I think there's a potential lawsuit against the university. I think there's prophylactic value to bringing some of those claims, even though it's tough to sue government officials because of all the sovereign immunity they have and different kinds of qualified immunity, et cetera.
This is such bullshit. You really think that Harpole would, or TPUSA is going to sue UVU?
It's still useful to put them on notice because these universities that are making it difficult to secure the facility for a conservative speaker should know they could get legally sued for it.
They didn't make it difficult. He didn't fill out the right form.
And maybe have to pay a big verdict. Just the risk of it will motivate them to reconsider their security protocol so that conservatives can safely be on campus. And things like completely misappropriating who can use drones and who can't, as an example of that. But also who did the security that day, who told Turning Point that the building was going to be secure.
Yeah.
I mean, because Turning Point had identified the risk.
And they have like
they're trying to transfer the responsibility, which was with the security, Harpole and his team, of Charlie Kirk away from them onto anybody else.
They have campus police. I think there's like 42 officers or something around those number. They had plenty of police where they could have actually secured their own physical buildings, right? That's their physical security that they're responsible for. In the same way that if somebody went up there just to look at Charlie, climbed upon the roof to view this, if they fell off that roof, the UVU would be responsible. It wouldn't have been, TPUSA and the security team and everything else. The fact is that they failed to mitigate the risks.
Mixing apples and oranges. If somebody was on the roof watching Charlie Kirk and fell off the roof, yes, that's UVU. As I say, mixing apples and oranges. Somebody falling off the roof, a spectator falling off the roof, is not the same as somebody getting assassinated. That they would even try and pass that off as the same thing as ludicrous.
Of their own physical security, and they should be held accountable for sure.
And it helps deter other universities because more full investigation at Trantifa and all the rest.
Just want to expunge
Harpole would easily win any of these cases because people are putting out easily provably factually false statements, and they're not really opinion statements. Like Wolves in Finance made he made the factual claim that there was no place for an office to exist when in fact he knew the UPS store was there and it aligned with it. He just flat out lied about it. That's just one example.
He didn't lie. He made a mistake. There is a difference between making a mistake and lying. When you make a mistake, you are telling a falsehood that you do not know is a falsehood. When you lie, you are telling a falsehood that you know to be false.
And he told some of those you could get away with as opinion, saying he didn't know that Turning Point Action was actually Charlie's creation and so forth. Some of that you could get away with, but specific statements like that, that is what you can nail them with. And I think all these people, I know it's in the spirit of Charlie for them not to sue anybody on that, because Charlie wanted to keep the right together, didn't want to divide anybody. He had, I'll be honest with you, almost a magical personal touch with people behind the scenes. So Erica's respecting that. That's why she met with Candace, because that was what Charlie would do. I think Erica's more. She wouldn't necessarily. She's stronger, as Charlie himself said. She's more conservative than he is in many respects. So I think there are people within Turning Point that would like to take legal action in these cases, but they don't want to divide the conservative movement even further. And so they're going to be very careful and cautious. And to their credit, their ability to stay for, like, I couldn't believe the criticism of the conference. I was like, these are young people, so it tends to be flashy, tends to have cool lights, tends to have little dance parties with James O'Keefe. That's her dressing up in a cool way. That's who they are. That's who those young people are.
Well, and I went back. I was hearing all that on X. I was like, hold on, and what the image that they were trying to portray is like, now that Charlie's gone, they've just defiled this whole thing. They've turned this into some big abomination of a whatever. And then I went back and I got pictures from 2024 with Charlie there. It's the exact same thing. It's the same lights. It's the same pyrotechnics. It's the same special effects. There's an image of Charlie coming out. There's pyrotechnics going on. There's a smoke machine rolling smoke that he walks through with Donald Trump. Like, it's the exact, like, nothing has changed other than the fact that, unfortunately, we don't have Charlie on the stage. That's what it comes down to.
Oh, exactly. Because people forget when Kennedy met Trump, that was at a Turning Point event in Arizona. And remember, it ended up being an iconic shot because of all the lights going on in the background. Everybody loved that. They said it was the best photo of 2024 campaign. Other than Trump's fight in Butler. And so and that was more, not an intended photo shoot at the time. So that was very Charlie. She was I'll give them credit. Their ability to withstand all this. I mean, she loses her husband. I mean, my father passed away when I was young. So I'm sensitive. I've told people, you cross a red line if you start bashing a widow. That I'm not going to have much mercy and much patience for it. And I'm going to expose it and call it out for what it is. For her to be a young widow of young children whose husband and whose father just died in a horrific assassination, and keep the organization going, even when you have Candace Owens and all these other crazies and kooks attacking you daily for keeping the organization going, for trying to sustain it, for trying to keep his mission alive and in his spirit. And for all those young people to put together that event in a very short order, just like they did with the funeral, the memorial proceedings, was really extraordinary. These kids are going to beyond normal lengths. A lot of people, the easiest thing to do, look at most public assassinations. The movement usually dies, right? I mean, to a degree, civil rights movement died with the assassination.
I think that's what they're most angry about. I think that's what pisses them off the most, is the fact that Charlie's been killed and they didn't just pack up the tent and go home. That's what pisses them off the most. And that's why we're seeing this.
No, it's pissing TPUSA off because they're coming apart at the seams and they want somebody to blame.
I don't know, visceral reaction and now attacks on TPUSA, Erica herself, and everybody involved with it. I think that is one of the main drivers of all this. They're like, we killed him, or someone killed him. Like, just stop, just go away, or we're just going to continue to attack you. That's what pisses them off.
Absolutely. They thought that they could cut the head off the snake and that would end the movement. And they didn't understand who Charlie picked to be in those positions. I mean, Charlie picked a good wife, to be, honest. I mean, not everybody does. We both know people in politics and whatnot, doesn't know. Hey, ask any of Mr. Snow's partners whether they regret those relationships. So, more often than not, you regret it. He did very well there. But with everybody else there, they kept the faith, they kept the standard, they didn't deviate, they continued in his spirit, in his way, in his manner. And that's extraordinary, because it didn't happen after Martin Luther King was assassinated, with much of the civil rights movement that fell apart. It didn't happen after Robert Kennedy was assassinated. His campaign political movement fell apart.
Yeah, because Ethel Kennedy played the same game as Erica Kirk. But the nonprofit wasn't started yet. She just started the RFK Human Rights nonprofit, which has become woke under her crazy daughter, Carrie. And LGBT rights. All of the human rights organizations have become politicized, and the Kennedys are partially, the Roosevelts are partially, at fault. The Kennedys as well. Well, the Churchills have their hand in there. Everybody has their hand in there.
Yeah.
So it's extraordinary. And these are young people, right? They're like you and I. They haven't necessarily been around the block a couple of times. These are kids. And they're being attacked on a daily basis, accused of murdering their friend for trying to stand up and keep his mission alive.
Oh, poor
and yet
kids.
they stay undefeated. They stay forward.
Oh, so wait a second. You guys are taking kids to the court and want to have 14-year-olds tried as adults. But no, these kids, let's give them a free pass.
Directed, because the old Kierkegaard statement, you live life backwards, or you live life forward, but you understand it backwards. They've managed to just go forward, just go forward, just go forward.
Well, I think they underestimated the redundancy that Charlie built into TPUSA. And, again, going back for a really long time, Charlie understood that his life was at risk from the left. He was getting thousands of death threats constantly. And, that's another thing that they want to omit and try to pretend didn't happen.
Charlie knew his life was threatened by the left. He got thousands of death threats. This is in order to suspend all suspicion that it could have come from within the Republicans or TPUSA or someone around him. No. This is the left. This is the left. Nothing to see here.
Like, he was getting death threats all the time from the left, but they want to take a couple statements from Israel and turn that into like, oh, this is definitely a death threat. And then 2 days later, he's dead. I mean, whatever. But the fact is that's okay to present that. I'm fine with that. Let's look into that. But also, don't just forget.
Anybody doing an investigation would look into that.
About the thousands of death threats that he's had over the years from the left, because that's what's going on. What I'd like to do real quick, Robert, is we'll start taking some questions. And I think that'll continue the conversation going in a lot of different ways. I want to thank Larry Full for becoming a member. Folks, if you, number one, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like this video. We appreciate it. Share our content. Look, I think that's one of the best things that you can do. If you believe in what Charlie was doing, share our content. Get this message out. The people hating on Charlie, man, they have entire networks.
I mean, these guys are not doing anything the same thing as Charlie was doing. Not at all.
From the very beginning of this, that they just regurgitate all of that hate, all of the different accusations, and we need to present a counter narrative, the truth. That's what it's about, the truth. So share in the.
We need to present a counter narrative. Oops. Bite my tongue. We need to present the truth. The truth. See?
Content goes a long way. Keep it up. Candy Crush. Why doesn't TPUSA address this? This was early on, talking about the financials, the potential financial fraud by TPUSA. A little sus. So why haven't they come out and addressed this directly?
Well, to a degree, they did. In other words, they went to the IRS and said, please give us public, so we can publicly disclose these returns that they were properly filed, and got that out to the whole world. So they figured the way they're trying to approach this is answer that within reason, but not get caught up in it such they can't do their mission. Because if they actually obsessed over every accusation made on the internet or by Candace Owens or any of these other people, they wouldn't be able to do their show. They wouldn't be able to do their job.
Are there so many
They wouldn't be able to
accusations?
keep up the mission. So their focal point is to minimize the distractions. And so I've said that I and other people will speak on their behalf at any occasion as needed. So I think they've made the reasonable step to not basically, like, it was what some of these people want.
Why is this guy speak as a spokesman for TPUSA? Is he on their payroll, or what's going on there?
To do is open up all of your books, tell us where you live, tell us where Charlie is buried, tell us everything in your life. And that's not going to satisfy the Candace kooks.
No.
Because no amount of evidence satisfies them. That they're emotionally driven, they're not factually driven, they're not empirically driven. So they don't care about
the Candace kooks. They're not emotional. This has just been about bashing Candace. Last time it was, oh, we love Candace, we love Candace, we love Candace. It's Mitch Snow who has manipulated poor little Candace, poor little Candace. This time it's Candace is evil, 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 evil. Repeat it, repeat it, repeat it.
That's bloody obvious by this point. And, I mean, there were some people that were listening to her early on that I think were in good faith curious, and they've realized those people are off the Candace train. They don't want to be anywhere near it anymore. And there's some
Does he have any statistics to back this up? Please sue this guy.
to tune in just to watch how crazy it might get, or to watch a live psyop in live time. But the reason why they are not spending obsessive time is if they did, why should you disclose all your private records? This was her problem with the Bridget Macron suit. Oh, I demand Bridget Macron disclose her entire life and drop her pants on national TV. That's not how it works. I don't get to say, hey, Candace, I think you're really an alien.
Drop her pants. Excuse me, have you ever heard of blood test, buddy?
Unless you go naked in front of your house, I'm going to believe you're an alien. Why aren't you going naked in front of your house to prove you're not an alien? Yeah. That's not how evidence works. That's not how human life works. That's not how civil decency works. And we've lost a lot of that in the middle of this.
I couldn't agree more. Little House Blues asks, can you shed light on the issue with Blexit, 1 million several years, and Candy's huge salary and private jet travel?
So Candace was pushing the idea of, a Brexit, but for black voters, and started it, got, Kanye kind of on board, though Kanye later accused her of stealing stuff from him, by the way. So you see a common pattern here with Candace. Yeah. And my understanding is, and Charlie was willing to support it. Others were willing to support it, but one of my favorite filters, I call confession through projection. So if you hear somebody make weird accusations against you, just flip it and assume that rather than you, they're talking about I. And I think what you'll find is where there may have been misappropriation of funds, private inurement beyond benefit, misdirection of funds, is with Candace Owens, is my guess. Because the kind of people that are eager to make those kind of accusations when they don't have an evidentiary foundation and don't fit who was running TPUSA, usually are people that are guilty of it themselves. And that's what I suspect.
Common tactic from the Democrats, that they're always accusing Republicans and conservatives of what they're actually doing. We see that all the time.
Well, look at it. If you go back to Russiagate, doesn't it describe the Biden family? They said there's a family that's corrupt, whose son is involved in the corruption. There's even connections to sexual perversion. There's even connections to Ukraine and Russia. I mean, it was the Biden family corruption. They just wrote out Biden.
The Steele dossier from Hillary Clinton. She's literally colluding with Russians to get information on Trump, trying to say that he's colluding with Russians. Like, it's almost ridiculous. Brad Bowen, 5132, says, Gary, as a metalhead, I want you to know what you're doing is metal as fuck. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Thank you. You are a good American soldier. Well, thank you, Brad Bone. We appreciate you. And appreciate everybody supporting us. We're going to keep going, folks. So all the candy cultists, all the trolls, you can bring it on. Doesn't bother me a bit. We're still moving forward.
Okay.
Two men I greatly respect. The Lord be with both of you. Do either of you think Candace Owens has other motivations for her disparagements besides clicks, money, and grit in the Kirk murder and the various TPUSA entities? I'll let you stab at that first, Robert.
I mean, she does seem to have this need to betray anyone that ever supported her, because, I mean, at some point it gets a little. How many people do you know that badmouth? Well, it's the old saying: if you're talking to, say, you're out on a date, and the girlfriend badmouths every ex she ever had, problem is probably with the girlfriend. Just FYI. So how is it that Turning Point is evil, Daily Wire's evil, PragerU's evil, Dave Rubin is evil, but they're all, the only thing they have in common is boosting Candace Owens, is giving her a lot of prominence.
The typical paranoia. She's paranoid. See, they're laying the foundation. I'm not going to, it goes on and on and on, the same stuff. Oh gosh, this is already 2.5 hours. And I'm not even halfway through their conversation. But it repeats. It's the same stuff. And I keep on saying they need to. I mean, I was laughing the whole time last night. I'm like, you guys gotta be kidding. You gotta be kidding. Take a look in the mirror of what you're doing. So yeah, as I say, it's been. I think you get the idea of that. And then Candace's, there was on the slides, that I'll be attaching with this. I'm only adding one more slide onto the PowerPoint. I'm just putting all the Mitch Snow slides together. And then you can get it underneath the video. So what's this hand up here? I've got someone with a lower hand. Yeah, I'm all by myself and I've got this hand, somebody with a hand. I don't know how that got there. Yeah, so that's it for today. And we'll see tomorrow. Oh God, Gary is bringing in Mitch's wife, the wife that he has this contentious divorce with, and the wife who tried to kill him, basically. I mean, you take a hammer to somebody and try and lock him up. I mean, the thing is, oh, this is so strange. No, it happens all the time. My ex tried to kidnap me. I still don't know what was the end game of that. After everything that had failed, was he going to kidnap and kill me, sell me into white slavery, or lock me up and have an attic? But get the idea. Yeah, I don't know. And I haven't been able to go back to Spain. My children are there. I mean, you know, everybody has stripped me of my rights and basically go fuck yourself and go jump off a bridge. Well, that's not happening. You know, this whole cancel culture. I'm not going to jump off a bridge, and I'm not going to stop. Just like stop. Like, why would you ask me to stop when all I am trying to do is restore law and order in the courts? You're asking me to stop. You become involved as conspiracy under RICO. I didn't make the rules. That's why nobody wants the courts to be, you know, to be cleaned up. Nobody wants morality and decency and common sense to be brought back to this country. I mean, these people are crazy, absolutely crazy.